A mother coming to grips with the death of her son, what she's saying about him after he was shot and killed.
A landmark decision by the Supreme Court affecting some undocumented immigrants. We have details on the ruling still ahead.
And a pretty quiet Father's Day weekend forecast, but next week we expect our first plume of Saharan dust to arrive. I'll have more on that coming up.
Live from KSAT 12, the news at noon starts right now.
We start with some late-breaking news this noon. A suspect now in custody after 8 people were shot at a bar over the weekend. Police are telling us that Janilius Crew, that's his name, was arrested in Miami, Florida.
Crew booked into the Miami-Dade County Jail this morning on June 12th. Police officers here were called to rebar after a shooting reported. At the time, police told us an intoxicated man was refused entry. He retaliated to the bar by shooting at bystanders before escaping. 8 people shot that night.
We're going to have more on that story coming up tonight on KSAT 12 News at 5 and 6. Meantime, the mother of a man who was shot in the face earlier this week is speaking out.
25-year-old Christopher Alderete asleep in his car when he was allegedly gunned down by Fabian Hernandez. Hernandez arrested Tuesday, now being charged with murder. Alicia
Barrera sat down with the victim's mother, who says that her youngest son had fallen asleep in his car while talking to a friend.
Norma Andrews says she hasn't been able to wrap her mind around the fact that she'll have to say a final goodbye to her son, Christopher Alderete.
I'm not supposed to be burying my child. They took my child. He wasn't ready to go.
Fabian J. Hernandez is accused of murder after police say he walked up to a parked vehicle in an alleyway in the 1100 block of West Ridgewood Court. The victim and a woman were inside.
They said that he was out there having relations with a female. They were just out there talking and they ended up falling asleep, you know.
The arrest affidavit says the suspect was looking for a woman named Brandy. And although no motive is mentioned by investigators, Andrews says nothing justifies taking someone's life.
Some kind of love triangle, I guess. This guy wanted a girl that didn't want him anymore, that wanted to be with my son, and he wanted to get rid of my son. I don't know who Brandy is. I don't know who the female was in the car either.
Her youngest son leaves behind 2 children and dreams of showcasing his art.
He was a singer, he was an artist, you know, he left behind 2 kids, a daughter, a 5-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old son. You know, they took away a brother, a grandson, a son, you know, a father.
Now, his mother clings on to her 3 other sons and the cloths that display Chris's art as they prepare for the funeral of the 25-year-old.
The murder suspect, Fabian Hernandez, remains in jail with a bond set at $260,000. The family of the victim says this does bring them peace. However, they fear they won't be able to begin to heal until a trial begins. Reporting Alicia Barrera, KSAT 12 News.
A woman now expected to recover after she was shot while watching a movie in her East Side apartment overnight. Now, the shooting happened around 12:30 this morning. This is the 4700 block of Rigsby Avenue. It's not too far from Loop 410. Police say the woman and a man inside were in the apartment. That's when they heard gunshots. Eventually, they realized bullets were coming through the window and coming through the walls. Investigators found shell casings in the middle of the street, right at the corner of Diane Road and Delcrash Drive. The woman taken to the hospital. So far, though, no word on any arrests.
This noon, police are searching for suspects who are responsible for a shooting at a pizza delivery man multiple times during an alleged drug deal. Police say it happened at the Dunes apartment complex on the south side in the 6200 block of South New Braunfels. Sarah Costa reports that victim was hospitalized and a window on his vehicle was shattered.
Investigators set out more than a dozen evidence markers for the many shell casings left in the parking lot of the Dunes apartment complex after a man was shot at several times early Thursday morning. Police say they got the call just before 3 in the morning after the victim, a 19-year-old pizza delivery driver, says he met up with a number of suspects at a separate location for what police call an attempted drug deal. The victim told police the suspects followed him home to the Dunes apartment complex on South New Braunfels Avenue. That's when police say the suspects fired at the victim while he was in his car. On scene, crime scene investigators collected shell casings near the entrance and in the back of the parking lot of the complex. Investigators left the victim's car on scene, and now that the sun is up, you can see that the driver's window is gone, possibly shattered by all those shots fired. Police say the victim was hit once and a friend drove him to Mission Trails Baptist Hospital. Then he was transferred to BAMC. Police say they continue to search for the suspects who drove off after they shot the 19-year-old man and are working with witnesses to track them down. Sarah Acosta, KSAT 12 News.
A murder investigation still open months after a 17-year-old was killed.
Now, San Antonio police and Crime Stoppers need your help to find who is responsible. So take a look. Police say back on March 30th, someone fired shots into Greg Pena's home. This was the 400 block of Aransas. He was shot and killed instantly. His sister also hurt after the incident, and during an initial investigation, Police Chief William McManus says it was definitely a targeted shooting.
And police also need your help solving two robbery cases. The first one happened on Sunday, June 14th at the H-E-B on the corner of Northwest Military Highway and Wurzbach Parkway. Police say that the suspect walked into the store, demanded money from one of the cashiers. The suspect then ran out of the store and jumped in a vehicle and got away.
And officers want to find this man caught on camera trying to steal money from a cash register. All this happening on May 30th at SA Food Mart. This is the 4600 block of Thousand Oaks Drive. Police tell us he was not able to open the register, but he was able to run away. If you have any information on any of these cases, please call Crime Stoppers. That number, 210-224-STOP. And out of the latest on the coronavirus and the pandemic, Bexar County now officially passing 5,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19, 239 new cases added since the last update. Also, one new death reported, bringing our total here in Bexar County to 90. According to the city's COVID-19 online dashboard, there are 241 people right now in San Antonio hospitals, 91 of them in the ICU, 43 on ventilators. Meanwhile, 2,348 patients have fully recovered after getting the virus. And the city of San Antonio facing a tough few years ahead. Council members presented with various estimates this morning that showed city revenue sources like the airport, hotel occupancy, and sales taxes could take years before they bounce back to pre-pandemic levels. City staff also showed a trial budget for next year's fiscal year, though it does not include any layoffs. Pay reductions and furloughs also a big part of the equation. Outside consultants also estimating that more than 1,700 businesses in the San Antonio, New Braunfels metro area would be permanently closed because of the economic fallout of this pandemic. The vast majority of them small businesses with 25 or less employees.
Mayor Ron Nirenberg asking city council members to take a look into VIA's financial situation. According to a memo obtained by KSAT 12, VIA officials are considering asking voters in November to approve the allegation of a 1/8 cent sales tax to go toward transportation funding. Nirenberg says he's asking VIA to explain the steps it is taking to manage operations within the current budget. The mayor added that he would not support the ballot measure and wants council members to take a look into it. In a statement, the communications director for VIA told us the company is underfunded and the tax increase is needed to, quote, simply preserve transit services for those who rely on it, end quote.
New at noon, the Supreme Court making a big decision ruling against President Donald Trump's bid to end DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. DACA protects hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants brought to the country as children. Without DACA, these hundreds of thousands of people could face deportation, and the program allows them to work illegally here in the United States. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
Certainly a big day at the Supreme Court, which today blocked President Trump from canceling the DACA program, which began under the Obama administration.
Chief Justice John Roberts delivered the majority opinion on the 5-4 ruling, saying the Trump administration violated federal law when rescinding the program in 2017. He says the administration did not adequately consider the impact on the DACA recipients themselves and the potential hardships. The Obama-era program applies to those who were brought to the U.S. as children but lack permanent legal status, and it temporarily protects those who qualify from deportation to the native countries of their parents, in most cases places they've never really known. Lower courts blocked the president's decision, arguing his rationale didn't add up. Now today, the highest court agreed, calling the president's move arbitrary and capricious after the court began hearing arguments last November. The ruling protects roughly 700,000 young undocumented immigrants, or so-called dreamers.
In an ABC News Washington Post survey several years ago, 87% of people supported the program. Chief Justice Roberts did note that the administration could get a do-over if they made some changes and could still move to end DACA legally. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Well, the latest on sports, Dr. Anthony Fauci saying football may need to be played in a bubble if we see it. Also, what about college football? Larry Ramirez joins us to talk the latest from UT.
A local restaurant is giving back to first responders the free surprise for SAPD officers after the break. Police officers on San Antonio's east side treated to free breakfast this morning. Rita's Mexican Casino in Leon Valley, dropping off the meals today at the SAPD substation on Houston Street. It's one of several free meals already delivered by the restaurant. It's part of the Pay It Forward Meals program, which is funded by donations from customers. The manager at Rita's says that they feel it's important to give back to the community.
Well, they're our first responders. And same thing as the healthcare workers. They're there, the front line. They put their lives up for us. I said, I know there's a lot of issues going on, but still, we have to support these guys.
Through the Pay It Forward Meals program, Rita's has been able to deliver breakfast meals to those on the front lines of COVID-19, including healthcare workers and first responders. If you want to help, you can go to Rita's Mexican Casino, or you can just call the restaurant.
Shout out to Rita's because they do this a lot. They do a lot of philanthropy, giving away tacos. They actually brought some here one day.
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
That was the weekend morning show. You're probably asleep.
Oh, you should have called.
Also, shout out to GMSA Weekend. Anyway, 86 degrees
You're
out.
always selling it. Always selling it. And Katie's selling a beautiful day out there, too.
Yeah, we had some showers this morning. Low clouds, very muggy early this morning, as well as we get into this afternoon. A little bit more sunshine expected, maybe a stray shower possible, but better rain chances look to kick in tomorrow, and even then through Father's Day weekend, just really isolated showers. We'll talk more about that coming up, but first, the aquifer is down a little bit more than half of a foot in the past 24 hours, and in your pollen count, not looking too bad. Mold is low today, along with pigweed and grass. I'll be right back with a look at your full forecast.
Welcome back. 86 degrees out there right now. I got to sleep in today. Woke up at like 6:30.
Yeah?
Went to the park. That sounds ridiculous.
He's got way too much energy.
I usually wake up at like 1 a.m., but went to the park. There's some people who can run and they look athletic. They look like a gazelle. I'm not one of those people.
Oh.
I like flail around. It just so happened it was raining while I was running. Didn't even realize it.
It rained just enough to ruin my new car wash.
Sorry. Yeah.
Some
little streamer showers popped up out there this morning. I'm picturing Max flailing around.
I want video, right?
Right. Speaking of rain, it's Thursday, so that means we've got the latest drought monitor for you. This is last week's, the 11th, and as I switch over to the very latest, not a whole lot of change out there, and that's some good news. Here we go. The color filled in a little bit better there. Really compared to where we were 2 months ago, we are in really good shape. Now, southern Maverick County, Dimmitt, Zavala, that's where we still have some moderate to severe drought there. But elsewhere, just some of this yellow color, that's indicating abnormally dry conditions. So a little bit of a change from last week to this week. And as we look forward, as far as rain chances are concerned, we've really got low coverage of rain working in the next couple of days and through Father's Day weekend. 10% chance of a shower today. We get into the next few days, early next week, a 20% chance pretty much each day of an isolated shower or non-severe storm. We've actually got something really interesting going on out there this afternoon. Looking at satellite and radar, we've got some showers here off to the east of 35 and 37, but look at all this cloud cover off to the west of I-35. This cloud cover and some leftover rain there near Carrizo Springs, making a big difference with our temperatures. New Braunfels and Gonzales both at 89. You've seen some more sunshine. We're at 86 here in San Antonio. And then you get under this cloud cover off to the west. 73 in Carrizo Springs, 78 in Uvalde. This, we're pretty sure, was what we would call a mesoscale convective vortex, an MCV. We had some showers move in late last night from north and west Texas. Those fizzled out, but it's likely that their outflow boundaries were left over. And during the 7 o'clock hour this morning, that outflow boundary sparked another complex of thunderstorms. You can see it here in the loop that I'm playing for you. This kind of moved right between Eagle Pass there in Carrizo Springs, and now there's not much rain to it left at all, but there's still a lot of cloud cover here, a lot of high cloud cover west of 35, and I do think this high cloud cover could sneak into Bexar County and San Antonio over the next couple of hours, so we could see our cloud cover start to increase a bit as we head into the early afternoon. If you're well to the east of 35, a lot more sunshine, and we've got a few little isolated downpours there east of the I-35 corridor moving off to the north. So I've tweaked the forecast for the rest of the day just a little bit to account for that increasing cloud cover moving in from that complex of storms to the west. Still just a 10% chance of a stray shower this afternoon, but I've also nudged our high temperature down a degree or so. So high temperature right around 92 degrees this afternoon with additional cloud cover, partly cloudy later on this evening, but then we'll see those low clouds build back in very late tonight. So here's a look at Futurecast. This has done a pretty good job of picking up on that leftover MCV off to the west. It shows, again, not much rain, but some additional cloud cover continuing to hang around through the afternoon with those isolated showers. A bit more likely if you're east of the I-35 corridor. We get into the overnight hours, low clouds build back in. We could even have a few sprinkles early on Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon seeing partly cloudy skies and a slightly better chance, I think, at seeing a downpour here in San Antonio as compared to today. So why do we have just this persistent 20% chance of rain each day? Well, it's on purpose. We've got the heat high sitting just off to our west, and it does look like as we get into Father's Day weekend, it's actually going to scoot a bit farther away. And what that will allow for essentially each day is for our atmosphere to produce some isolated showers and non-severe storms. We don't have any big weather systems coming in, but during the heat of the day each afternoon, it should allow for some pop-up showers and storms, and that will be the case through Father's Day weekend. Now, coming up next half hour, we unfortunately have the return of some Saharan dust for the first time this summer. That looks to arrive next week. We'll talk more about that next half hour. Guys.
Thank you, Katie. I'm going to be talking about it too at 6 o'clock.
Ooh.
Yeah,
There we
allergies.
go. You know what time it is?
It's time for college football.
There you go. Time to talk football. Best time of the day.
I'm saddened by this report that you're about to give.
Yes, the positive COVID-19 positive tests at Texas A&M, the football team, is on the rise, which isn't all that shocking. Athletics director out there, Ross Bjork, though, still feels confident because they have an awesome plan in place to protect the student athletes. Plus, college football getting closer to returning. They now have a 4-phase plan. We got it coming up.
And guys have a lot of experience, and my confidence is through the roof, and I can't wait. It's going to be a really fun year.
Horns QB1 Sam Ehlinger is ready for his senior season, and he expects big things in big board sports. Texas A&M Athletics Director Ross Bjork says the number of positive COVID-19 cases among A&M student athletes has increased, as reported by the Eagle. Bjork declined to give the exact number, saying the department is following the reporting guidelines of the Brazos County Health District. Bjork expected the positive number to increase, despite A&M coming up with a great plan to keep their players safe.
We knew we couldn't shut down forever, so around May 1st we started operationalizing this plan and figuring out, what happens with the air ducts in the weight rooms? What happens to testing? What happens with our staff? Do we wear masks when we're working out with student athletes? Those type of things. And I really believe that we have a best-in-class model for this whole return to activity. We've shared our plan with others around the country who've asked about it, and I really think that our staff, led by Justin Moore, Kristen Brown, Dan Jacoby, JP Bramhall, they deserve credit for really putting the right kind of plan together, because really all you can do at the end of the day is make it as safe as possible and make sure that we have all the protections in the right amount of space.
6 Texas football players have tested positive for COVID-19, and at least 15 players are being quarantined as they either had the virus or have come in direct contact with someone who has it, according to orangebloods.com. The Longhorns tested roughly half the football team last week before beginning voluntary workouts June 15th, resulting in 2 positive tests for COVID-19. Other Big 12 schools such as Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and West Virginia have all had players test positive for COVID-19. And fingers crossed that college football season kicks off on time. If so, the Texas Longhorns will open on Saturday, September 5th at home in South Florida. Texas went 8-5 last season, 5-4 in the Big 12, and lost to LSU and Oklahoma, who were both ranked number 6 when they faced the Horns. Texas won its last 2 games, including the Alamo Bowl 38-10 versus number 11 Utah. Longhorns senior quarterback Sam Ehlinger said he's excited for this coming season, in part because of the experience level on this season's roster. And college football's return has been set. The NCAA Division I Council announced that it has approved a 4-phase plan. Voluntary workouts are underway, which started June 1st. Phase 2, team workouts, can begin on July 13th. July 24th, teams can hold walkthroughs and team meetings. And Phase 4, regular preseason practice, can begin on August the 7th. There you go. We're getting.
I saw that little fist bump with the LSU.
Yeah, when I said LSU, she's like,
just a little bit.
I will say, could be a big season for the Longhorns. I have a buddy very into sports gambling.
Okay.
He took the great odds on Ehlinger winning the Heisman.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
the odds are in his favor.
I hope your friend cashes in.
Yeah.
Thanks, Larry.
You got it.
2019 property tax bills due in just a few weeks for people who make half-year payments. During the pandemic, though, some have had to dip into that money for groceries or other necessities. Coming up today at 5, we talk with the Bexar County tax assessor about payment plan options and possible penalties.
More states are reporting increases in hospital admissions for the coronavirus, including here in Texas. We hit another daily record with nearly 3,000 COVID patients hospitalized yesterday. That's an increase of 85% since Memorial Day. According to ABC News, there has been an increase in the number of people testing positive in 20 states. Hospitalizations increased in 15 states, and the death toll rose in 13 states.
While our hospitals currently have enough beds for people who need one, we may find ourselves in a dangerous situation with hospital capacity if the trend continues.
Meantime, in Arizona, cases have doubled there in the last month.
And the virus doesn't seem to be slowing down in Florida either. Experts say Florida could be the next epicenter in this pandemic. That warning based on projections from a model by scientists at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania. Florida, one of the 10 states that saw a record number of new COVID-19 cases this week, all according to that model. Florida has, quote, all the markings of the next large epicenter of the coronavirus transmission and risks being the quote-unquote worst it has ever been. Meanwhile, Florida continues their process of reopening.
Businesses that are not abiding by the rules will be shut down by Miami-Dade police.
And Miami's mayor says he won't rule out another citywide shutdown if this virus keeps spreading in his city.
Even though about 1.5 million laid off workers applied for U.S. unemployment benefits this week, there is some good news in the jobs report. It marks the 11th weekly decline in applications since they peaked at nearly 7 million in the month of March. Reports say the decline last week was much smaller than recent weeks, falling by just 58,000. The job market appears, though, to be starting toward a slow recovery. In May, employers added 2.5 million jobs. This increase suggests the job market has bottomed out.
And a former Atlanta police officer now facing a slew of charges in the shooting death of Rayshard Brooks. His top charge, felony murder, for which he could face life in prison or even the death penalty.
The other officer was charged with aggravated assault. Both have until today to turn themselves in. ABC's Rena Roy has the story.
What were once rally cries for some are now cheers of celebration. Protesters in Atlanta feeling one step closer to justice.
The first charge is felony murder.
I felt everything that he felt just by hearing what he went through. And it hurt. It hurt really bad.
Former officer 27-year-old Garrett Rolfe is facing 11 charges, including felony murder, after prosecutors say he shot Rayshard Brooks twice in the back from 18 feet away in a Wendy's parking lot last week. The other officer, Devin Brosnan, is charged with aggravated assault for allegedly putting his foot on Brooks while he was on the ground shot. His attorney says the charge is unfair because his client never pulled out a gun. The prosecutor says this still image influenced his decision. It's from video of Rolfe kicking Brooks and Brosnan standing on his shoulder as he's dying. The whole ordeal began nearly an hour before when officers got a call Brooks was asleep in the drive-thru blocking other cars.
Hey.
Copy 41 injury.
Sir.
25 westbound at Johnson.
What's up, man?
25 west.
Hey, you're parked in the drive-thru right now.
They spoke to Brooks for 40 minutes, giving him a breathalyzer test. Police say it registered at .108, just above the legal limit.
Ms. Brooks, will you take a preliminary breath test for me? Just yes or no?
I don't want to refuse anything.
When they try to arrest him, he resists, according to investigators. The district attorney says the officers never told him he was under arrest or why.
The police union tells ABC News Atlanta police officers do not feel supported. A number of them called in sick overnight, and now the mayor is urging them to honor their commitment to serving the city. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Back here at home, let's take a live look out at the Alamo City. 86 degrees out there. How would you describe it? Because I'm seeing like cloudy, muggy, not that great.
Well, there is some sun out there, and I think it's nice when you get a little rain shower in June.
We needed that silver lining.
There you go. Yeah, and there will be an off chance of a straight shower here in San Antonio this afternoon. But I think the chances of that are actually better as we get into tomorrow and Father's Day weekend. Check out this spread in temperatures, though. It is nice and warm here in San Antonio. We're at 86, 90 in Pleasanton, but we've got some 70s from Rock Springs down to Carrizo Springs, thanks to a complex of thunderstorms that now has fizzled out, but has left some of our westernmost counties with a good amount of cloud cover. I think we could see some of this high cloud cover filter in along the I-35 corridor and into San Antonio as we get into the afternoon. We do have some nice downpours moving off to the north to the east of I-35. So from Cuero up to Gonzales over to Hallettsville here, we do have some of these showers that will continue to pace off to the north. Some activity similar to this will be possible as we get into Saturday and Sunday for Father's Day weekend, but just know the weekend will not be a washout. 20% chance of a shower or storm each day. We'll talk more about your Father's Day weekend forecast, and I'll let you know when we expect that batch of Saharan dust to arrive coming up soon. Ursula.
Thank you so much, Katie. Record numbers of stores expected to close their doors due to the pandemic. Stephanie Cerna tells us how clothing stores may be hit the hardest. That's still ahead.
And later in sports, Larry Ramirez joining us, checking in on Holmes football players ramping up for the upcoming season.
Chipotle is looking for more ways for customers to get their food online. And for this option, you don't need to download their app. We have details on how it works next on the News at Noon.
Never miss a story. Watch live or when you want. San Antonio's latest news and weather, streaming free on KSAT TV.
Hello everyone, this is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar. Hong Kong Disneyland set to officially reopen today, becoming the second Disney park to reopen since the coronavirus shuttered all parks worldwide. Now, the Hong Kong location has been closed since January the 26th when the crisis first hit China. Guests will be required to book reservations online up to 7 days in advance, and once they arrive, they'll have to submit to temperature checks and will have to wear face masks. Meanwhile, Twitter testing a brand new feature for iOS users that's about to make tweeting a lot more interactive. The social giant rolling out the ability to record audio snippets, which can be attached to any tweet. The feature is launching today for a limited group of users, but if successful, it could be made available for all users. Now, those who do have access will see a new waveform icon besides that camera icon. That way they can start to press that to record. And drug maker Gilead says they're going to be enrolling pediatric patients diagnosed with COVID-19 in a late-stage study testing its experimental drug remdesivir. The trial is being held across more than 30 sites sites with a goal to measure the effectiveness of the drug in newborn and adolescent patients. And that's Cheddar Business and Tech Update. I'm Baker Machado coming to you from New York City.
And Chipotle now offering more ways for people to order its food online. They just introduced Pepper, which is a concierge bot on Facebook Messenger. Starting next Monday, you can order by going to Chipotle's Facebook page, clicking the Message Us option, then give Pepper your location, find your closest restaurant, and once that is chosen, you can order and customize your own meal. Chipotle also offering a group ordering option where you can share a link with multiple parties, order all at the same time.
A record number of retail stores are expected to permanently close this year. Thousands of stores have already made that announcement that they're closing their doors for good. Stephanie Serta reports clothing stores may be the hardest hit.
With an increase in online shopping, the coronavirus pandemic, and economic recession, as many as 25,000 retail stores across the U.S. are expected to permanently shut their doors this year, according to KSAT Research, a firm that tracks the industry. The report says so far in 2020, more than 4,000 stores have said they will permanently close, and there's an anticipation that closures will continue and set a new annual record this year. As consumer confidence and demand is expected to stall in coming months, sparking additional closings. Apparel retail and department stores look set to have the most store closures. JCPenney, Tuesday Morning, and Pier 1 Imports have all filed for bankruptcy and announced intentions to close hundreds of stores. GNC and Victoria's Secret are closing hundreds more. More than half of the store closures are expected to come in malls. Indoor shopping malls have been struggling in recent years amid declining foot traffic and fierce competition online. Malls that lose an anchor store may have trouble keeping their remaining tenants. KSAT says that may create a ripple effect that spells bad news for malls. Stephanie Serta, KSAT 12 News.
We're looking for a bit of an arrival, a visitor to the Alamo City coming sometime around Tuesday for sure, but may make a little bit of an early appearance, we're thinking, and maybe Saturday, Sunday too.
Yeah, we are keeping a close eye on that Saharan dust that's moving across the Atlantic as we speak. And like Ursula was saying, a little bit of it may start to filter in this weekend, but you will really notice it early next week. And we will talk all about that coming up in just a couple of minutes. But first, let's check on the aquifer. It continues to fall. It's down 0.7 of a foot in the past 24 hours, but a nice pollen count for the time being. Mold, pigweed, and grass are all low today. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to get right to your forecast with a look at what's going on in the Atlantic Basin. We are into hurricane season now, and for the time being, things are quiet out there. Tropical satellite not showing any tropical cyclones, and according to the National Hurricane Center, no formal tropical development is expected within the next 2 to 5 days. And a big reason for this is because there is a big plume of Saharan dust moving across the Atlantic as we speak. The trade winds there down near the equator will continue to push this plume of Saharan dust into the Caribbean over the course of the weekend and closer to the Gulf of Mexico early next week. So I mentioned I think we could get maybe a little bit of this dust in this weekend, but I think it could become a bit more problematic. Here's Tuesday at 2 p.m. again early next week. So we expect this to really start to become very noticeable by Tuesday. And unfortunately, it looks like the Saharan dust could hang around for several days. And the reason that this is kind of problematic is because it almost acts as an allergen. It can be very irritating to your eyes. It can make your eyes feel itchy and watery. It can just be irritating. It can give you a headache. And for some folks with respiratory conditions, it can also be problematic in that way as well. This also just gives our South Texas skies a very hazy look. And we'll definitely have that in place for several days here. So I do want to now switch back over to kind of a more short-term forecast here. We've had something kind of interesting happen this morning. There was a complex of storms that developed off to the west of San Antonio this morning. And for a brief period of time, there was some frequent lightning, some heavy rain as well down near Carrizo Springs there, really between Eagle Pass and Carrizo Springs. And that leftover cloud cover creating a big spread in our temperatures. We've been talking about this this hour. Some folks are in the 70s because of the additional cloud cover left over from that complex of storms that now has fizzled out. You can see it there spinning on our radar loop. So the rain is gone. The thunderstorm activity is gone, but we've still got a lot of this leftover cloud cover, especially off to the west of 35. And again, I do think we could see some of this high cloud cover move farther to the east, closer to the I-35 corridor and into San Antonio this afternoon. So if you maybe notice some of those high clouds moving in, maybe not as much blue sky as the past few days, that would be why. A bit more blue sky off to the east of 35 here, where we have some showers and non-severe storms, pacing off to the north there pretty quickly. And this particular Futurecast model is picking up on things pretty well. It sees the leftover cloud cover there, some light rain that's not really there anymore, and then also the more isolated downpours off to the east. So if you're east of 35 this afternoon, you have a better chance to see a little bit of rain. The rest of us, for the most part, will be rain-free for the rest of the day. Tomorrow morning, we'll start off cloudy and muggy, maybe a few sprinkles. And then tomorrow afternoon, a slightly better chance at some isolated showers and storms in and around San Antonio. So for the rest of your Thursday, high temperature around 92, 10% chance of a stray shower. But I actually think we've got a better chance to see one of those downpours tomorrow and then into Father's Day weekend. Tonight, temperatures only falling down into the mid-70s. And you'll see here, not a whole lot of change for the next week or so. No big movers and shakers moving into South Texas, and so that'll keep our temperatures fairly uniform and that isolated rain chance each day. Guys.
All right, looking forward to the weekend. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Katie. We have the great Larry Ramirez joining us in the studio. So, Larry, what do you got on deck for us?
You're being way too kind. Kind of subpar sometimes.
Not today.
Today, though, I want to be great, indeed.
Always.
Hey, at noon, we told you that Texas football, according to reports, had 6 football players that tested positive for COVID-19. Well, UT just sent us a release, and that number has actually gone up. Plus, the UIL will allow live streaming of high school football coming up on Friday nights this season. We got the details.
I felt relief because, I mean, just being, this feels like home. So it's just like, I'm able to be comfortable where I'm at and just practice.
Holmes Huskies quarterback Michael Haskins is thrilled to be back on campus and working out in big board sports. We've been making the rounds visiting area high schools now that they are allowed to take part in voluntary workouts. And today we check in with Holmes High School. The UIL set June 8th as the date allowing high school athletic programs around the state to begin summer strength and conditioning programs and sport-specific instruction with COVID-19 guidelines in place.
It's exciting because, I mean, everybody's just pumped up about being back. I mean, we were locked up for like basically 3 months. So everybody's just excited to work out.
The main thing was now to be able to see their faces, be able to work with them a little closer, and just get them out of the house and give them a sense of normalcy.
The University Interscholastic League made a huge decision lifting the Friday night broadcast rule for the 2020 football season. The lifting of the ban pertains to television and digital broadcasts this season only. The ruling will allow fans to watch high school football on TV or via live stream to help combat the spread of COVID-19. The fall of 2020 will be the 100th anniversary of UIL high school football. And here's a quote from the UIL. "It is time for us to stand down our Friday night broadcast rule, not permanently. It's just a one-time venture because we know there will be many people who stay away because they are fearful, particularly our elderly and our senior citizens. We want to give them a chance to see the game," end quote. A few weeks ago, we caught up with UTSA head football coach Jeff Traylor and some of his players on Zoom to discuss the senseless killing of George Floyd and racism. Coach Traylor spoke out on social media, and eventually this led to a Zoom meeting with his players to discuss their own personal views on and experiences with racial injustice. We're told the 2.5-hour meeting was a bonding moment for this football team.
It's always great to know the backstories of your teammates. Even to sit down for an hour with just 10 of your teammates could bring you guys closer. You know, knowing where you come from, knowing where Zoe comes from, knowing where Hunter comes from, it's something that's going to stick with me, make me want to give my all for him on the football team. So everything that we're doing now, meeting on Zoom, just hanging out with our friends, it all means something. It's all going to show.
The Roadrunners pledge to do their part to fight racial injustice. Texas Athletics sent us an email this morning stating 13 football players have tested positive for COVID-19 or are presumed positive. All 13 are now self-isolating. And through contact tracing, 10 more football student athletes are in self-quarantine, all of whom are asymptomatic at this time. Texas has also identified 4 football student athletes who have tested positive for the COVID-19 antibody. Max, Ursula?
Thank you, Larry.
All right, thank you so much, Larry. SA Live has a lot of food on the show today. Best kind of SA Live. They are talking everything from key lime pie to sushi. Interesting mix there.
I love key lime.
I love sushi.
All right. Well, it's a Thirsty Thursday as well, guys.
Oh, yeah. One of our favorite days of the week.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Including the Free Friday. Well, one of our favorite bakers, he's opening up his own space inside a cool new spot called The Study Space. He serves up a Hey Sweet Key Lime Pie recipe for summer.
And here's something you might want to try this weekend. How about smoking a tri-tip? We learn, and boy, I tell you what, this chef, she's a live fire cook, author, meat expert. Her recipes, videos, and classes reach millions of barbecue-loving fans around the world.
Oh, yeah, so you know it's going to be good, all right? And you could say it's the best thing since sliced bread, but really, it's just bread making recipes to make your life easier. We show you the simple steps that will have you rise to the occasion. Get it? Get what you need. Oh.
She'll be here the rest of the week, folks. Try the bread.
I learned the dad jokes
or the
from
tri-tip, something like that. Hey, and we want to know, what is the dad in your life's favorite go-to food? Is it to make or to eat? Let us know on SA Live on KSAT and Facebook and all those other spots, and you may see your answer a little bit later on in the show.
Oh, yes. And of course, it's International Sushi Day, too. So we put a list together of all the great spots around town that you could go get some sushi.
I love sushi. I love it. I can just eat it all the time there. It's so good. That and a whole lot more coming up on SA Live, so stick around.